The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so again, let's go. Down at Town Hall. So myself, the secretary, and our IT specialist, who are normally at Town Hall, are all working from home, and we had to wait until we were able to get it live on YouTube, so the public had a forum to view the meeting. So let me read the statements that we read at the beginning of each of these video conferencing meetings. Welcome to the April 5, 2021 meeting of the Town of Dover Planning Board. Today's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's March 13, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which dispense certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view the meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I confirm that this meeting has been duly noticed. We fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice at Town Hall, providing notice to the meeting to local news organizations, and posting notice to the town's website. Okay. So we'll begin with old business. Start with Dover One LLC, and we'll turn it over to the Dover One LLC consultant and/or applicant.
Yes. Hi. Good evening. This is Brian Hildenbrand representing Conley Engineering, and we're the engineers for Dover One LLC. And I will just share my screen. Maybe. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Of the site plan?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So just a quick recap of why we're here. This is a developed lot with two multifamily buildings on it. In the rear of the buildings, there's an existing 36-inch pipe that conveys a locally regulated water course. This pipe has been notorious for maintenance issues, clogging, causing flooding to the upstream properties. So we were proposing a plan to, instead of using this pipe, to create a drainage channel to convey the stream that will still cross the property, still connect to the same location in the Stone Church Brook, or relatively close to the same location. And this way it'll help eliminate flooding issues and also eliminate any potential septic contamination issues, because the existing septic fields are located above that existing pipe. So we've been here for in front of your board for I think 3 meetings now. We had the site walk. We've revised the plan based on the comments we heard at the site walk, at the meetings, and from the town consultants. I can just go through the changes quickly that involved just realigning this channel to better meet the natural stream at the inlet. You can see here, this is where that that existing pipe and head wall are, that's going to be sealed. It's going to be bricked up and then filled over as part of the channel excavation. The channel will still maintain 50 feet from the septic system, which is required by the Dutchess County Health Department. The existing drainage in the parking lot will be redirected to the channel because currently it connects to the pipe. So that will be reworked in the field. And then another comment received was at the exit of the stream to better meet the geometry of the Stone Church Brook, rather than being like a perpendicular inflow. This will sweep in, and the heavier flows will continue downstream easier. Let's see. We provided a revised engineer's report, the town engineer, that looked at water elevations in the channel. I don't think there were too many issues there. And then the last thing, I'm sure we're not going to talk about it, but there's been talk about pedestrian crossings to maintain that existing trail. We are still reluctant to put something, and then, just based on what the owner's feelings, the use of the trail. And further, I just wanted to point out to the board that although it might be an amenity, the trail actually doesn't go right to the right of way or right to the commercial public spaces. It goes on to, I believe this is private property. So I don't really have a good feeling about promoting people entering other, without getting that neighbor involved. I really don't want to open that can of worms. But I guess that's all part of tonight's discussion.
Mr. Hilbrand, that ends your presentation?
That's, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if there's any questions, but I think it's the plan really hasn't changed. It's the same idea, same concept.
Okay, thank you. So a couple things, and then we'll go through the board members, and then we'll go through the consultants. So there's little or no change in elevation along the culvert, the ditch, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's still, I believe, a concern about water from the Stone Church Brook potentially going up that channel that you're creating. And so I was wondering if you had any mitigation solutions for that potentiality.
Well, I mean, I would say that the channel is at the more or less the same elevation as the pipe is now. The pipe's just as flat. We're hitting the same elevations. The benefit of doing the channel is that, the pipe is limited by its diameter. So that once that 36 inches is full, you're flooding on the surface. Whereas the shape of this channel, it's a trapezoid. It's relatively deep, and there's freeboard even in the 100-year storm. I think there's about during the 100-year, there's room. So, I mean, having that compensatory storage in the channel, that void space is not going to be a detriment to any kind of flooding. It'll be a benefit just for having that additional storage available within the channel. So I don't know how you would mitigate it, because I know we're here to alleviate upstream flooding.
Correct.
But we also don't want to, we have a duty not to impact downstream flooding for us also. So,
but we don't want our solution to create another situation where if the Stone Church Brook is, at a heightened level of flow, that it inadvertently flows backwards up the channel that we've created to solve other solutions. Okay, so and you brought up that the pedestrian trail goes onto private property. That's an important point that I think we need to consider. So thank you for bringing that up. I'll move on to the members at this time. Member Villano, any comments or questions?
No, nothing at this time.
Thank you, Member Villano. Member Cedar?
Nope, none at this time.
Thank you, Member Cedar. Member LaRobediere?
Well, a few years ago, when we had looked at this path with respect to another application, it had seemed like it would be a great amenity to have the trail enhanced. But if it goes over private property, and if the main part of the private property is the applicant's property, and the people that are living there are not really using the trail, then it does seem like it would be unfair to require that amenity.
Okay. Thank you, Member LaRobediere. Anything else? No? Okay. Member Rahman?
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Williams?
No comments, Brian.
Thank you. And I believe Member Morosky is absent. Correct, Secretary Van Miller? Okay, I don't see him on the call. So. All right, now we'll move on to our consultants. Engineer Berger.
Yes, my concern is what the chairman mentioned, is the backflow of the water going up the channel. The floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, as well as the storms actually flow pretty high. And if the channel itself is going to be trapezoidal, so more volume than the pipe. So if there's standing water in the stream is higher than the flow within the channel, it will backwater up, and possibly additional flood waters may back channel all the way up to where the culvert used to be. The culvert by itself is a restrictor. So on the larger 25 100-year storms, even though it backs up water from coming into it because it's full, it also prevents water from the stream from coming into it. So we don't want a situation where, because we're making the trapezoidal channel much larger, on larger storms or 10 to 25-year storms, more importantly, the flow comes up. For the 100-year storm, the entire area flows is almost up to the parking lot level. So I'm more concerned with the 10 and 25-year storms, which are 5 inches and 6.5 inches, which could possibly provide additional flooding up at the northern end. There are possible solutions, and offline maybe the applicant's engineer and I can talk about them, but we probably need to look at the backwater calculations a little more. I provided some information to the applicant engineer based on 2 of the projects that were done, both Country Squire, which was the former site, and Stony Brook, which is upstream, both flow into this area, and they were studied previously for the elevations of flood stage. So I did provide that information recently to the applicant's engineer to consider. So I think we need to just look at this a little bit more and come up with a possible mechanism to keep the water from backing up while providing it to go down through the channel expeditiously as much as we can. Other than that, everything else, the channel geometry works for the storm. The alignment works. It's just preventing the backwater from occurring. That's fine.
Thank you, Engineer Berger. Attorney Polidoro.
Hi, good evening. It sounds like there's still some study to be done, but at this point, the application could be referred out to other agencies for comment. We could refer it to the Department of Environmental Conservation and to the MTA. The DEC might have input into this stream issue that everyone's concerned about. So that's an action that we recommend that the board take tonight. I was wondering if the applicant could explain where or just show on the screen where the pedestrian path is and where it currently goes.
It hugs, right, here's the existing head wall. It goes into the woods this way.
Mhm.
I don't know where it goes from there. And no need to follow it.
But which way does it go? Because I thought this was the path that went out towards McDonald's.
I don't know what.
It actually does. It goes from the head wall. This is the Joe's Burger. It goes from the head wall north, like it's shown there. Then it heads slightly inside the woods. It heads in a northwest direction through the lands of Kelly.
Okay.
May I say something, please?
Sure. Your name again, sir?
I'm sorry.
Your name again, sir.
Ronald Kestendam.
Discuss them out, please proceed.
You know, one of the problems I have with this trail is that not only don't I have that one tenant who uses it, and I understand that for him it might be a little tough. But this trail goes through unlit, unsafe, unpaved areas on my property that with people going, it really shouldn't be a traffic area because of insurance liability, of people who don't live on the property are actually, I was there last week and I observed 8 people walk through that property. None of them lived on my property, none of them. And when this project is hopefully approved soon, we get started, it's going to be a while before anybody even can use that trail because it won't be accessible due to construction. And they're going to figure out a different way how to get to 22. And I'm sure that it's not going to be that difficult. It takes a little effort for them to walk around the corner. And that's all it is a matter of convenience for people who don't live there.
So for the board, I'm not trying to sound glib, but if you guys were always to consider liability for the landlord, you'd never ever get a sidewalk or a pedestrian pathway. I mean, anytime we require someone to put improvements in or a parking lot, there's potential liability to a landlord. So I don't want that to be the main concern for the board. I was just asking where the trail went, where it originated and where it went to, so the board could evaluate whether or not a new pedestrian connection should be created or maintained. Section 145-65 of the code does require the board to consider pedestrian connections between adjacent sites to encourage pedestrian use and to minimize traffic. So this is something that you have to consider as part of your site plan. And since there is a path already that might be infringed upon, you should consider whether a new one needs to be provided. And you may find it doesn't, but you still have to go through that analysis and decide for yourselves whether that should be continued. So that's why I was just trying to understand where the path went on this site and if there was a different location where it could go.
Joe Berger responding on just the location. If you look at the map and if we were to ask the applicant to keep it on his own property, west of the site, it would have to cross the stream again before it gets to 22, which we couldn't do because of the extent. The path itself, as I mentioned earlier, runs through Kelly's where it can reach over to 22 without crossing the stream.
Right, so 2 stream crossings would be required if it were to stay on the applicant's property.
Yeah, and I highly doubt that DEC would allow a pedestrian stream crossing of that size for this stream unless it was very important and necessary.
This is all good new information that we're getting tonight, so it's all helpful. I was going to ask if there was some kind of surveyed as part of the survey if the trail was shown, but it sounds like it does go north to the other property. When writing the comment where I just Victoria already kind of summarized everything that's in my memo about the site plan comments. the requirements found at 145-65 on site plan review, since it's subject to site plan review. Those are all, that particular item about vehicular and pedestrian connections between adjacent sites was just something to call to the board's attention if they wanted to address that and as part of this review. In writing the comment, I did take a look again, and I did question, can we even cross the other stream? If does it go west all the way across that stream to 22? And it sounds like it doesn't. That's all interesting, new information. And if that is a DEC stream, that's correct. It wouldn't really, unless there's somehow people are jumping over it currently or something, which doesn't seem like they're doing that. They're going around it. DEC would probably not want there to be anything going over that piece. Otherwise, my comments are pretty much have already been relayed. We can refer this out to MTA and DEC. We could also, this project would need a public hearing. We could probably, if these things get referred out, it takes 30 days to hear back. We could schedule a public hearing for a meeting sometime in May, if that sounds good. Or we can hold off on that. But, you know, in discussions with Victoria, I think we had resolutions in place to refer it out.
Thank you, Planner Warner and Attorney Polidoro. Yes, I do have a resolution here. And I see where it's to refer it to the Dutchess County Department of Planning. But I don't have on here referring it to the DEC or MTA. So we could add that on.
I think they're on the copy, the CC at
Oh,
the
down at the
bottom.
bottom. Yes, involved and interested. There we go. Okay. I'll just push you.
Item 2 is declaring intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated review, and then the interested and involved agencies are listed at the bottom.
All right, so I'll be sure to read those out as well as part of the resolution. All right. Again, thank you both. Are there any, having heard the comments and questions of our consultants, are there any planning board members who have any further comments or questions at this time? All right, hearing none. We do have a resolution classifying the action and referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for Dover One LLC. And so I'll read this resolution, and as we've been doing, I'll put forward this resolution. We'll see if there's a second, then we'll open it up to discussion amongst the board members, and then we'll vote on the resolution. So. Whereas the applicant Dover One LLC has submitted an application for site plan approval and erosion and sediment control permit approval to construct a swale in order to replace an existing culvert and convey an existing stream to the Wells Brook, a Class C stream. This is known as the project, on 2 properties located at 34 North Nelly Hill Road, tax parcel numbers 7063-00-5913 591318 and -560320, known as the property, in the HM zoning district and floodplain and stream corridor overlay, also known as the SC district. And whereas the project is depicted on a site plan entitled 34N Nelly Hill Road, prepared by Connolly Engineering, dated January 12, 2021, so it's a site plan, and whereas the property contains multiple family housing and associated parking and utilities, and whereas pursuant to zoning law, Section 145A, subsection 1, subsection B, subsection 1, the filling or excavation of an area in excess of 5,000 square feet within the SC district requires site plan approval. And whereas pursuant to zoning law, section 145-14F, an erosion and sediment control permit shall be required for any site plan application in which the area to be disturbed lies partially within the SC district. And whereas the applicant has submitted a short environmental assessment form, also known as an EAF, dated January 21, 2021, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, also known as SECRA. And whereas in accordance with SECRA, the planning board is required to determine the classification of the proposed project, and whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.2 subsection AN, any project not identified as a type 1 or 2 action under SECRA is an unlisted action. And whereas the property is located within 500 feet of New York State Route 22, and whereas pursuant to Section 239-M of the General Municipal Law, projects located within 500 feet of a state highway must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation thereon. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby, 1, classifies the project as an unlisted action under SECRA. 2, declares its intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated review of the project and directs its secretary to send notice of its intent to all involved and interested agencies. And 3, directs its secretary to refer the site plan to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to Section 239-M of the General Municipal Law. And the involved and interested agencies are the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Metropolitan Transit Authority. This resolution being offered by myself, seconded by
Second, by Tamar.
Member Roman. Discussion. Just looking for one clarification. While we're deeming the site plan dated January 12, 2021, we'd want to send along this updated site plan that we have in front of us on the screen now, correct?
Yes, we would want to send the new one.
All right, and Mr. Hildebrand, I can't see the bottom of the screen. What is this site plan dated?
It was last revised March 15th.
Okay.
Where is that revision date? Because just for future reference.
Right above the North Nelly Hill Road title.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion to amend the second whereas such that the date now reads March 15, 2021. Motion to amend made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Sedor. Discussion on the amendment of changing the date. Seeing no discussion on changing the date. All those in favor of changing the date, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right. Anyone, any member whose voice was not heard, I presume they're voting aye. All right, so the date of the on the resolution is now changed for the site plan. Any further discussion of the resolution as amended? All right, hearing no further discussion, we'll call the question on this resolution. Secretary, please call the roll of the members.
Member Cortine,
Aye.
Member LaRobodiere,
Aye.
Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Sedor,
Aye.
Member Villano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
all in favor.
All right, thank you. The vote is 6-0 with one absence. So that will be moved along. Mr. Hildebrand, I believe we're done with Dover One LLC at this time.
Sure. Can I just ask about the procedure of when the public hearing will be
Yeah,
open?
So let's look at a calendar. The next, so they have 30 days to respond from the date in which they receive it, Attorney Polidoro?
Yes.
Okay. So presuming it goes out the end of this week and they receive it by Friday the 9th, 30 days out would be
It would be the June 7th meeting.
No, well, 30 days out would be
The second May meeting.
So could be the second May meeting.
May 17th.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for Dover One LLC for Monday, May 17th at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the board can hold the public hearing. The motion is made by myself, seconded by Member Villano. Discussion on holding a public hearing on May 17th. Hearing no discussion. Secretary, please call the roll of the members.
Member Cortine,
Aye.
member LaRobertier,
Aye.
member Roman,
Aye.
member Sador,
Aye.
member Villano,
Aye.
member Williams,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you. Vote is 6-0 with one absent. All right, Mr. Hildebrand, I believe now we're done with Dover One LLC for the time being.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank your client. All right, we'll now move on to the Gardner project. And Mr. Hildebrand, we'll hear from you again.
All right.
And if you have,
Okay.
if you have your applicant joining you, if you could just introduce them, please, for the board and the public.
Yes, I believe they're on. Andy Gardner and Patrick Dolan are the owners.
We're here.
Welcome.
Okay. So this project is, again, for the record, Brian Hildenbrand. This project is 10 Halls Corners Road. And what we are looking at now is the conversion of the upper level of an existing garage, a detached garage, into a 1-bedroom accessory apartment. In previous iterations of this plan, there were talks about converting this existing barn to a guest house. But as we learned last meeting, there were some stumbling points and some unknowns about the future of use of it, whether or not we needed variances, and any effort of, I mean, who knows what's the future will bring, but for now, we're going to remove that from this application and only move forward converting and creating this accessory apartment over the garage. And it really comes down to timing too. This apartment will not be rented to the public. It will be used by the owner's daughter. And so there's no increase in the footprint of the building. It's just fitting out the existing space, installing a septic system, which we were on site on Monday, March 29th, with the Dutchess County Health Department. We performed the deep and percolation tests in the septic area. So we are advancing that submission to the county to get the septic approved. The well is existing. We're going to use the existing water system from the main house, so no additional wells are needed. There are enough parking spaces within the garage and outside of the garage for both the existing house and the apartment use. So I think this really simplifies. I mean, I didn't hear too much negative comments from the board or the consultants. It was really the unknowns previously of the barn. So we are hoping, this kind of simplifies the process. We did submit the floor plan. There was questions about whether there was a kitchen. Our architectural floor plan showed a kitchenette, which I believe that raised some questions from the town planner, but I guess that's all will be part of his discussion tonight. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. All right, so no consideration of the barn. What was discussed last time is that to have 2 single-family homes on the property, you would need 10 acres per the zoning. Your applicants have 9-point-something acres. They could go to ZBA, but you and the applicants are choosing not to do any of that now, correct? Just
under this application, right?
In this application, okay.
Yeah.
But may do so in the future, and that's
in the future, yeah, and we'll deal with the process then.
okay. Understood. All right, so this is now not a detached bedroom, as was slightly joked about last time, but an accessory apartment with everything that goes along with it being separate from the main house? Bathrooms, kitchen.
Right, it has a bathroom, has a kitchenette, so it's a standalone, could be a standalone apartment. You know, I know there's questions about the kitchenette versus the kitchen, but I guess I'm still a little confused if that is an issue for us now. Doesn't seem like it would be, but.
Okay.
I can speak to that when it's my turn. I'll wait.
All right, thank you. Planner Warner. All right, we'll go through the members and see if there's any comments or questions. Member Sedor?
No questions.
Thank you, Member Sedor. Member Little Beer?
No, not at this time.
Thank you, Member Little Beer. Member Roman?
No questions.
Thank you, Member Roman. Member Williams?
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Member Williams. And Member Villano?
Nope, nothing at this time.
All right, thank you, Member Villano. All right, we'll first go to Planner Warner. Warner?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so the removal of the barn looks like it's been done on the plan. That was one of my comments, just if we're going to start referring these out, that should just be updated. So there's no longer any improvement from the driveway either going back there, right? That's taken off, it looks like.
Yeah, that was just the drafting error that was corrected today.
Okay, so it does make it a lot simpler, you know, based on the, just for the board's benefit, based on the square footage of 750 for the apartment, the code requires 1,000 square feet or 30% of the main house, which you're meeting. So the issue with the kitchenette just comes up with the town code definition of accessory apartment, which references the definition of a dwelling unit, which if you look at code section 145.74, there's a definition of dwelling unit as a building or portion thereof providing complete housekeeping facilities for one family. Complete housekeeping facilities, you know, my interpretation is that that's a full, what you would find in a house, being able to cook food, have a bathroom, just a separate house or a separate dwelling unit from the main house. If that's not proposed right now, that I don't think that's really an issue. If you're going through the process to get a special permit for an accessory apartment, you're doing all that work now to get it as an approved special permit use. You know, if at some point you want to rent it out, you know, in a formal way, you might have to update the kitchen, but at least you'll have this special permit approval for that, you know, as an accessory apartment. That was really the gist of that comment. I wasn't trying to throw a wrench or anything, just more of a food for thought. Because we did talk through this. We understand that what's proposed for now is more of like an extra bedroom, but it's going through the process of getting a special permit as an accessory apartment, you know, which has a public hearing. It has all why we're here tonight, all the fees that have been paid. So just something to think about down the line for code enforcement if it becomes an actual apartment that's rented out to the public. Otherwise, it's this is also a county planning referral, which can go out. It sounds like, you know, this plan's been updated. So just making sure that we have this plan into Maryland so she can refer it out. I also had a comment about the application. I wasn't sure if there's been a few versions of it. If you have a full compiled PDF that has all the signatures, just make sure she's got that too, including, you know, taking out all the references to the barn being no longer part of the application. And that should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Planner Warner. Engineer Berger?
Yeah, with the removal of the barn, I have no further comments. Only improvements are the septic system, which is being approved by the Board of Health. So I have no other concerns.
Thank you, Engineer Berger. Attorney Polidoro?
You might want to check the connection.
Right. The removal of the barn definitely simplifies the application. There are no longer variances needed. It's an accessory dwelling unit, which is permitted without regard for density or without requiring additional acreage. So we have a resolution prepared for the board tonight to classify the action as a type 2 action and to send it to county planning because it's within 500 feet of a municipal boundary and a county road.
Okay. And with respect to a public hearing, for this project?
We do need a public hearing. County planning technically has 30 days in which to respond. They sometimes respond sooner.
Okay. All right, so we could go through the resolution and then have a motion for a public hearing the same night as the previous application. Anything further, Attorney Polidoro?
No.
All right, thank you. Having heard our consultants, are there any members of the planning board that have any further comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, I'll offer this resolution. Resolution classifying action and referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for Gardner Dolan. Whereas the applicant, Daniel Connolly, on behalf of Abby Gardner, has submitted an application for site plan and special use permit approvals for construction of a 750 square foot accessory apartment in an existing garage, known as the project, at property located at 10 Halls Corner Road, tax parcel number 6963-00-241118, also known as the property, in the RC zoning district. And whereas the project is depicted on the site plan entitled 10 Halls Corner Road, special permit plan prepared by Connolly Engineering, PLLC, dated January 20, 2021, last revised April, was it 5th?
5th.
April 5th, 2021, collectively known as the site plan. And whereas pursuant to section 145-12C of the zoning law, one accessory apartment per single family dwelling may be located in an accessory structure, and such accessory apartment shall not be counted towards permitted density. And whereas the applicant has submitted a short environmental assessment form, also known as an EAF, dated March 18, 2021, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, also known as SECRA. And whereas in accordance with SECRA, the planning board is required to determine the classification of the proposed project. And whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5 subsection C, subsection 11, construction or expansion of a single family, a two-family, or a three-family residence on an approved lot, including provision of necessary utility connections, is a type 2 action under SECRA. And whereas the property will contain two dwelling units, one single family unit, and one accessory apartment. And whereas the property is located within 500 feet of the municipal boundary line and county routes 23 and 24. And whereas pursuant to section 239-M of the general municipal law, projects located within 500 feet of a municipal boundary or a county highway must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation thereon. Now therefore be resolved that the planning board hereby classifies number one, classifies the project as a type 2 action under SECRA, and 2, directs the secretary to refer the project to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to section 239-M of the general municipal law. This resolution is being offered by myself, seconded by
Second.
Henry,
Member Williams.
yes.
By Member Williams, thank you. All right, any discussion on the resolution? All right, just a note for our attorney and our secretary, I changed the date, the revised date on the resolution to what is on the special permit plan drawing.
Yes, so Mr. Hildenbrand should be sure to get the office copies of the new plan so we can send that one out.
Yes, we'll do.
Any discussion amongst the members on this resolution before we proceed?
I'm sorry, Ryan, could you say that again, please?
Any discussion on the resolution?
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you. All right, hearing no discussion, secretary, please call the roll.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobodiere,
Aye.
Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you. The vote is 6-0 with one absent. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we'll have a public hearing on Gardner Dolan for Monday, May 17th at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the planning board can meet. Motion made by myself, seconded by member Roman. Discussion on holding a public hearing on Monday, May 17th for Gardner Dolan. Hearing no discussion, Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobier,
Aye.
Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
all in favor.
6-0 with one absence. On the public hearing. Mr. Hildebrand, anything further?
That's all for me tonight.
All right,
Appreciate it. Okay. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have Mercedes, the country store. Mr. Mercedes, are you?
Yeah, I'm here. Nick Mercedes for the country store project.
Thank you, Mr. Mercedes. So please give your presentation on your project.
Well, what I'm trying to do is just do like a hunting and fishing store in the old post office in Wingdale. And according to the memo, trying to get it classified as a type 2 action under SACRA and send it to the Dutchess County planning pursuant to GML 239-M.
Okay. And we received your sketch, and so at this time, are you looking to have a home occupation that is, just want to make sure I have this clear, it's going to occupy more than 30% of the floor space, but not exceed 40% of the floor space?
Yes, correct. Which I think would be 450 square feet.
450 square feet. Okay. So you would need a site plan approval and special permit for this, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the members, see if there's any comments or questions. So again, just to fill in a little more detail before I pass it along. This is for 3623 Pleasant Ridge Road, Wingdale, New York. As you turn off of 22 onto Pleasant Ridge Road, you go up and over the hill and over the railroad tracks. It's the first building on your right. That, as Mr. Mercedes said, was formerly the Wingdale Post Office. It was also a pet store and is now, I believe, currently a residence. And it's located in the HM zoning district, which is Hamlet mixed use. Okay. So I'll go through the members. For any comments or questions, Member LaRobier?
No.
All right, thank you, Member LaRobier. Member Roman?
No questions.
All right, thank you, Member Roman. Member Williams?
No questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Member Williams. Member Valano?
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Member Valano. And Member Sidor?
I have no questions.
All right, thank you. All right, and so we'll go to our attorney, Attorney Polidoro.
We do have a resolution prepared for the board's consideration to classify it as type 2 and refer it out to the county. The board could consider setting a public hearing as well. At the last meeting, we discussed the sketch plan and that there wouldn't be any improvements proposed, landscaping or delineation of parking spaces, etc. So I just want to make sure that the board is comfortable with the plan that you've received, because that's the one we will be sending to county planning. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Polidoro. Planner Warner?
Sure. So Victoria did summarize most of what I was going to say. I did note the home occupation standards, which are part of code section 145-41B. If Mr. Mercedes would like to have a sign for his business, there's a limit of 3 square feet. And we made that clear, in this memo, and we talked about it before the meeting that that might be something to pursue, and it would have to be a variance for that to be permitted. And I also just encourage Mr. Mercedes to just take a look at the rest of those standards to make sure you're going to meet them. It seems like you will. I mean, the site has already, being a former post office, it's got the parking area. You're not really doing anything structurally except interior renovations. So it's been a business in the past. It seems like it can be a business now. Just that sign limitation might not be the best for your visibility when you have this there.
Sure.
Otherwise, the 450 is within code now. It wasn't clear. There was a range proposed before. I think we nailed it down. So the 450 would be code compliant. And yeah, type 2, there's no stream corridor overlay issues here, even though it's within it and it's in the floodplain. Again, there's no changes to the building happening. It's really just all interior. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Planner Warner. And again, to be clear, the variance would be for him to get a larger sign than a 3 square foot sign.
Right, if he wants to.
Okay. And again, he would go to the ZBA for that variance. Okay. And Engineer Berger?
And since there's no improvements being proposed, I have no comment.
All right, thank you, Engineer Berger. All right, having heard the comments and questions of our consultants, are there any planning board members who have any comments or questions at this time? All right, seeing no further comments or questions, we have a resolution to consider. Resolution classifying action and referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for CD, the country store. Whereas the applicant, Nicholas Cedi, has submitted an application for site plan and special use permit approvals for a home occupation in order to utilize a portion of an existing structure as a country store, also known as the project, at property located at 3623 Pleasant Ridge Road, tax parcel number 7060-04-886098, also known as the property, in the HM zoning district and floodplain and stream corridor overlay, also known as the SC districts. And whereas the project is depicted on a sketch received February 22nd, 2021, as amended by a sketch dated March 16th, 2021, collectively the sketch plan. And whereas pursuant to zoning law 145-41, a home occupation occupying more than 30% of the floor space of the primary dwelling unit is permitted with special use permit and site plan approval, but said a home occupation cannot exceed 40% of the floor space of the primary dwelling unit. And whereas the applicant proposes to use 450 square feet or 40% of the floor area to the home occupation, and whereas the applicant has submitted a short environmental assessment form, also known as an EAF, dated February 15, 2021, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, also known as SECRA. And whereas in accordance with SECRA, the planning board is required to determine the classification of the proposed project, and whereas pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5 subsection C, the reuse of a residential or commercial structure or of a structure containing mixed residential and commercial uses, wherein the residential or commercial use is a permitted use under the applicable zoning law or ordinance, including permitted by a special use permit, and the action does not meet or exceeds any of the thresholds in 6 NYCRR 617.4, is a type 2 action under SECRA. And whereas the property is located within 500 feet of New York State Route 22, whereas Whereas pursuant to section 239-M of the General Municipal Law, projects located within 500 feet of a state highway must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation thereon. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby classifies the project as a type 2 action under SECRA and to directs its secretary to refer the project to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to section 239-M of the General Municipal Law. This resolution is being offered by myself, seconded by
Second.
member Sudor. Discussion on this resolution.
Just
Yes.
according to parcel access,
Yes.
Route 20, Pleasant Ridge Road is Route 21.
Right. It says New York. That resolution says New York State route. So.
Oh, it should,
so
okay, sorry.
Okay. So.
Should say County Route 21.
Okay.
Your feet.
So, motion to amend the resolution such that New York State Route 21 is amended to read, well, I said New York State Route 22, but New York, that it should read Dutchess County Route 21. And further on the last whereas, it should read within 500 feet of a county highway. This amendment is being offered by myself, seconded by
Second.
member Villano. Any discussion on the amendment of the road? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of amending the resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Sufficient votes there for the, any opposed, say no. All right, there's sufficient votes there that the resolution is now amended. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? All right, hearing no further discussion, the secretary, please call the roll.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobier,
Aye.
Member Roman, Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Villano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
all are in favor.
The vote is 6-0 with one absence. Resolution is adopted. Okay, again, we'll set a public hearing for May 17th. Motion
May 19th. May 19th, right?
May 17th,
Oh,
not April, May 17th.
I'm sorry, 17th, you're right. Sorry.
No worries. All right, I'll make a motion to hold the public hearing on Monday, May 19th. Monday, May 17th at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the planning board can meet for the Masidi, the country store project. Like I said, motion made by myself, seconded by member Villano. Any discussion on holding public hearing?
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Masidi, sure, you can ask a question.
Is it just the public hearing at a meeting like this?
Yeah, a meeting like this, I mean, at some point we'll be back to live meetings. I'm not sure if by May 17th. By live, I mean in person town hall meetings. Yeah, we've been having public hearings for about a year now. I don't know, you know, when a public hearing is required, like this.
But it's going to be like people doing their it's like at the end of one of these board meetings or something.
No, public hearings will tend to take place at the beginning of the board meeting, just so, you know, if there's interest in, if people have interest in applications, they want to speak publicly about it, well, we don't have them wait, you know, all this time for it. And so just for your edification, letters get, it's posted in the newspaper. Notice gets sent out to everyone surrounding your property within, I forgot exactly how many feet, but
Do I have to post something at the property?
yeah, and then the sign gets posted at the property.
Okay,
We give you the sign.
okay, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking about it. All right, so any further discussion amongst the board members regarding holding this public hearing? Hearing no discussion, Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Cortine,
Aye.
Member LaRobertier,
Aye.
Member Ramon,
Aye.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Milano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
all are in favor.
Thank you. The vote being 6-0 with one absence, the public hearing will be held amongst the other public hearings on Monday, May 17th. All right, now we're on to, thank you, Mr. Masidi.
Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
All right, now we'll move on to Harlem Valley Homestead.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Gallagher with Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture. I am joined tonight by the applicants, Josh Vertel and Michael Armilio, as well as Neil Alexander and Alec Glad from Cuddy and Fader, and the architecture team, Jennifer Preston and Pedro Marmolejos from Shelter. I will share the site plan for one moment. Excellent. Since the last time we were in front of the planning board, we've submitted a revised sound study, meeting minutes from a site walk conducted with neighbors and several of the planning board members on March 17th that discussed visual impacts, a copy of the Dutchess County Behavioral and Community Health Submission and the response letter. This submission provided details, additional details for the underground water tank that was discussed at the last meeting, and a full architectural drawing package by Shelter. At the March 17th meeting, visual impacts were reviewed. When reviewing visual impacts, our office utilizes New York State's DEC Assessing and Mitigation Visual Impacts Program policy. That policy states that an aesthetic impact occurs when an impact interferes with or reduces the public's enjoyment or appreciation of the appearance of a significant place or structure. We will demonstrate during the architectural presentation how the architectural colors and materials have been developed to mitigate views from public locations. At the site meeting, neighbors, Mr. Diamond, Mr. Hade, and Mr. Priest expressed concern on how their private views would be impacted. Specifically, what was noted was the northern overflow parking area, which we've discussed with the planning board previously. The town of Dover code states, since non-residential uses vary widely in their need for off-street parking, parking requirements shall be based on the specific operational characteristics of the proposed uses. The code outlines that the planning board does have the authority to apply provisional standards to modify the total required parking. The applicant has designed the plan per code, does not want to seek a variance. However, it is believed that the operation will not need the total number of parking designated per the code, which is 116 spaces. If the planning board would entertain a waiver for the reduction of the overall parking spaces for the project, the applicant would be amenable to removing the ability to utilize that northern parking area for country inn and conference center uses. Josh Vertel has been reviewing the subject with the neighbors. He understands the importance of this issue to him. And if Josh, if you have anything else you want to add at this time.
Sure. I mean, it's pretty simple. They would prefer not to have overflow staff parking for the country and conference center in that area. One of the only reasons we had it there was because we think that the code is essentially triple counting how much parking we need. We don't think operationally we'll need it all, but we didn't want to trouble the planning board with asking for a reduction. If you're comfortable with reduction, we are comfortable that we can operate without it, and then we can remove it, which we think would be good for the neighbors and their concern. Yeah, it's very straightforward, actually.
Great. Those were all of the items we submitted on the 19th. Since the 19th, Insight Engineering, Creighton Manning, Josh Viertel had an on-site meeting on March 31st with Mr. Berger and Mr. Sartori, the highway superintendent. Mr. Sartori invited select neighbors to the meeting. Adam Haid, Stephen Priest, and Jeff Diamond were in attendance. The improvements along Old Forge Road and at the intersection of Route 55 were discussed at a high level. Meeting minutes were sent today to Mr. Berger and Mr. Sartori for review. After they've had a chance to review, we'll submit to the planning board for record. My personal recollection and understanding of the next steps based off this meeting is that Mr. Berger and Mr. Sartori will take a walk with the latest set of drawings from Creighton Manning and provide improvement comments for Old Forge Road. Tonight, though, we'd like to take time to give an overview of the architectural submission, which includes colors and materials as previously requested, and give the board the opportunity to directly ask the architects any questions related to that submission. And with that, I'll invite Jennifer and Pedro to take the screen. So give me one moment and I will stop my share. Excellent. Jennifer, you are muted.
Thank you, lady. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am Jennifer Preston with Shelter Design Architecture. My partner, Pedro Marmolejos, is manning the screen for us and will also be available for any questions that you have. I want to start with a brief introduction into our thought process on the architectural components, just to give you a better sense of our approach and our practice. As a design team on Harlem Valley Homestead, we've paid careful attention to the sense of place here. 3 examples of how that will play out are, and you'll see in the next slides, are through the history of this place as a working landscape and an important preservation of the view sheds to pasture areas and to growing fields, the surrounding material cycles of wood and stone, and a long view approach to stewardship. I find it useful to hear a little bit of what I'm going to say before I'm going to say it. So what I'll talk about with you is, to begin with, the photovoltaics on the project. Specifically, we'll zoom into the parking lot for you. I'll give an overview of the materials. And to close out, I won't go through every structure because we'll be here forever, but and I want to save time for questions. But I will very briefly walk through the design intent at 4 structures, and those will be the farmhouse, the farm hub, the homestead house, and a typical cabin for you all. So Pedro, if you want, yep, you're on the perfect slide. Okay. So one of the key ways that we are implementing the aims that I mentioned before is through the solar arrays on the project. All of these solar arrays are built-in integrated products. They are not the kind of typical roof-mounted product that you might see around, which can sometimes sort of sit on a building as an object. Our design really integrates the generative panels as shade structures and roof slate tiles throughout the project. Pedro, can you show the other slide of the photo array in the parking lot for me, please? So on the right-hand side, you'll see the view of the parking lot as you're driving up Old Forge and you're turning in. We're expecting weathered steel material, and a glass PD panel, which is a product that has 2 panes of glass and the generative material is sandwiched in between. This system will also aid in stormwater management flows and provide native and adaptive gardens below them. For us, this goes a really long way to describing the dedication to both longevity and stewardship on the project. On the left-hand side of the screen, and maybe Pedro, zoom in just to the farm core and I'll just touch on it. Is everybody able to kind of perceive the drawings? I don't know how big your screens are and what you can see, but if you need us to maneuver differently, raise your hand, let us know. So this medium gray color that you're seeing, and Pedro will point to them as I'm going through, is a slate product that is actually solar generative, but it looks like a kind of historic slate, and that'll be on the historic buildings that ride along Old Forge Road. The darker gray is a very similar product, same kind of generative capacity, but in a darker tone, and that gives a dialogue between the old and the new, so that the stories of the materials relate to the stories of time. And then the very light blue in the parking lot and on a couple of the sheds, and also a little bit north in the plan, we'll be doing that glass, that sandwich glass product. So very integrated into the site, not visible as a generative material, really reads like an architectural material, which is quite nice. So the next site plan will show you the facade materials of the project. So it's an overview so you can see them all, but the color relates to what the color of the building will be. So you can see that, so before I go into that, what I want to preface the materials with is that this set is really reflective of a collaborative and in-depth process that we've had with SHPO. We've reviewed with them the ways in which we're protecting the history of this place while also allowing it to remain sustainable and a working landscape for the future. They have reviewed all of the historic structures with us in detail, as well as the materials proposed across the project, which is reflective in the no adverse impact letter, which you all have on file. So to orient you to the project, the buildings, and the set, this page on the left shows the facade colors, as I mentioned. Overall, the palette is very subdued. It looks to bring to life a full cycle of wood on wood material, which is very important to this site. So the newest kind of caramely brown of a fresh wood to a silvered gray over time. And we're even showing a kind of blackened wood at the farm store and the hive. The material choices tell an important story for the homestead as well, which is its responsible forestry management and also relates to the carbon renewal cycle goals of the project. There are two exceptions to this, which is the classic white paint, which you'll see on the historic farmhouse and the horse barn, which Pedro points to. And we maintain these colors for historic reasons. The other barn structures throughout the site will have the weathered barn board and either the gray slate or the dark colored tile. And the new structures will have that same barn board material. We're doing a few pops of red throughout the project on the existing library, which is presently red, the corn crib, and then a new ag building in the east will also be a barn red color. So we'll move to the farmhouse. Okay, this is our beautiful farmhouse. This is a key identity building on the site currently, and it will remain so after its renovation. Its appearance is going to shift back in time from its present condition to the original humble front porch across its east facade, and this is to welcome guests and visitors. We also return to a single 2-leaf door across the facade, which we believe is a clue that the house may have once been occupied by a Shaker family. But the main investment here is really energy performance. And as such, it will get re-insulated and reclad. It will have a new series of windows in keeping with the historic scale of the facade. And as I mentioned previously, we worked closely with SHPO to identify the appropriate windows, the appropriate door sizes, as well as the materials for this house. One of the critical aspects of this structure in relationship to its history is its condition with the horse barn across Old Forge Road. We had considered moving it off of the road for safety purposes to the east, but a beautiful barn on the road is a kind of classic contextual position, and SHPO really advocated for it, and its relationship was understood to be important to preserve. So those two buildings will remain in dialogue with each other, which we think is actually a total positive. So I'll move to the farm hub. So this building is the workhorse of the project, and Pedro will point to where that is on the site plan as well. So this is where all the support spaces will live. It was critical to our design approach and to the client that we reduce the development footprint of the project. So this building is a single structure. It collects all of the operational uses for hospitality and farm functions into one building. The east-west nature of its length echoes the east-west nature of the 3-barn complex that exists and the old dairy barn that sits there. Its size and proportion are very much in keeping with typical barn structures. The next structure I'll go through is the homestead house on page 23. So very similar goal here in relationship to the Farm Hub in terms of maintaining farmland for farming. We do this by co-locating the principal group amenity spaces into one structure. The Homestead House will be where people come together for 3 daily meals, for a light beverage in the evening, conference meetings on the second floor, and a large outdoor deck will connect guests to the valley, to the hill views, and to the Western River sunset. And then the last little building we'll show you is our suite cabins. These cabin units, they sit at the edge of the tree line, tucked into the trees. And the other ones will settle within a saddle at the base of the knoll in the northern end. These are all very simple structures, natural barn board siding again. They have an entry screened porch, a bathing area, and a sleeping area. Some of the units are intended for singles and couples, and the others are situated to host families that will come to the property. So I'll close there for now and pause and see if there are any questions.
Well, this is Ryan, the chair. So just looking this over, just the question that I have, I mean, I guess I'll just ask it now because you just referenced the cabins. The cabins that are at the near the hilltop, I guess we'll call it, near the top of the screen, presently. So I know there are trees up on that hill. Would neighbors be able to see one or more of those cabins?
That's something that we can look into a little further. You definitely have the potential to see it from Old Forge Road, obviously, because Old Forge Road runs directly through the property. So if you do look up, you are going to see a little bit of that area. We did the analysis, which there was an updated plan in this set for the view from the Appalachian Trail. And we do not believe that you will be able to see it from there. As it relates to if a neighbor is going to be able to see it from their second floor, I don't have that information at this time, but that's something we could look into.
Okay. I can see how from east to west, the hill slopes downward, but certainly possible that anyone on Old Forge Road could see the 3, 4, definitely 2, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 cabins that are on the eastern side of that.
There's existing screening would exist. There's some trees in between. It's something we do plan on looking at in the landscaping plan. As that gets further developed, we understand the view from Old Forge Road. But again, we've looked at this from a public resource amenity, and we don't believe that it's having any sort of negative impact from public resources. And from Old Forge Road, we're happy to take a look at if there's ability to screen it with some additional planting.
And I do see maybe we'll run backwards through the images. I do see some kind of chimney structure on these cabins as the way in which these cabins are being heated been finalized.
Yeah, Pedro, do you want to take that?
Sure. The cabins will be heated via a split system. They'll be heated by a VRF, so they'll provide both air conditioning and heating for it. There is an accent piece in there, which is a closed wood burning fireplace. So it would not be an open flame; it would be an enclosed wood burning appliance.
Okay, you used an acronym there. What was that?
Oh, a VRF. It's a variable refrigerant system. So it allows, there's an outdoor unit that would basically act as a heat pump and take out any of the heating loads and provide cooling, and then vice versa in the winter, provide heating capability in the winter.
Okay, and you said that there would be an enclosed, you didn't say fireplace, but what did you say?
Wood
stove. Yeah.
Okay, so are we talking like a pellet stove or actual
wood burning?
Wood burning.
Yeah, actual cord. Yeah.
So there's could you zoom out on the map there? to
And maybe,
all the
maybe just
cabins?
make it one whole screen for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. I know. So each of those cabins being proposed would have its own heating and cooling system, but also would have wood burning stoves?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. And how many cabins again are we looking at?
26.
26, okay. All right, so there's potentially then 26 chimneys with smoke and wood burning taking place. Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Right, thank you.
It is, as Pedro had mentioned, though, it is a dual system.
Right.
So that doesn't mean in the winter, every single person, every single night is utilizing the wood burning stove. It's something that is an option for them if they would like to use it.
Sure.
More aesthetic?
Yes, definitely aesthetic. It is not the primary source of heat, so it would be there more for ambiance.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and then just the other structures that you had in the other slide.
Which one would you like to review?
I just go backwards through them from the cabin. All right, so again, that's by the parking area. It's going east-west.
Yeah, we call this the farm hub.
Okay. All right, and then the one before that,
Homestead House.
the Homestead House, and then across the street is the white barn that SHPO would like to have kept
This,
on the road.
this is the farmhouse. I misspoke. So this is the farmhouse, and yes, it's the one where they want to keep the horse barn across the way. Mhm.
Oh. All right, and then prior to that were solar panels. So are the solar panels, are some of these solar panels providing shade and cover to vehicles? Is that what I'm seeing? If you make that image larger, it might be helpful.
Yep,
Yes.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And in addition to shade and cover, they're also doing a lot of work to conceal the hyper kind of oscillation of variation of colors on paint on cars. So from the other views, the Scotticoke view, the panels are actually doing a great deal of beneficial work to that regard. So you won't see the cars, which is very nice.
And do you plan on having any screening on the west side of the parking lots to screen the cars from the roadway?
We've put a primary structure along the majority of that parking lot on the west side. So there'll be a large structure, and then there are two portals for folks to drive in through on the north and south. Top of that, the majority of the traffic will be coming in from the south.
Oh, right. No. Yes. And are you looking to have it be one way in and then the north side out, or are you looking to it being in and out on both?
Kathleen, you want to take that one?
At the moment, the intent is that it's two-way traffic on both. I'm not 100% sure if the refuse vehicles are front loading or rear loading. So that will help decide the way that a refuse vehicle utilizes the site. Also, employees, if they don't want to use the main entrance and exit coming in and out, they will create their own pattern so that they don't cross circulation with guests as much as possible, and they could use the northern entrance and things of that nature. So they're sized appropriately for two ways on both locations, as we think patterns will start to emerge as the site's being utilized.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right, that's all I have on that for now. We'll go through the members, and then we'll go through the. Did you have any further to present?
Just our intent is for the next submission to submit on April 30th for the May meeting. We'll include additional items, including the preliminary lighting plan. Our intent is to close out the seeker issues with an anticipation of potentially a June public hearing, which we hope is on the horizon.
Okay, so you're not anticipating presenting anything for the Monday, April 19th meeting.
Correct.
And then also nothing for the May 3rd meeting.
No, our intention is to submit the next package of materials on April 30th.
30th for the May 17th meeting.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the comments and questions from the members. Member Williams?
No, no questions at this time, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Williams. Member Rahman?
In the documents that we had received by email, there was correspondence from neighbors, including something that has not been covered at all today. And I'm wondering when that's going to be addressed. And that was, I believe, a letter from Mr. Haid about the school bus and the intersection at 55 and Old Forge Road. So I was wondering when that subject would be addressed.
I don't know if I received that direct communication, but what I think based on your comments, what that's about is making sure that a turning study is being conducted to make sure the school bus can enter and exit the new realignment of the intersection at Route 55. Is that correct?
Yes, that my understanding was that Mr. Haid had some concerns about that.
Absolutely. So in the April 30th submission, we will include an additional sheet with turning studies that we're working through right now, and we'll be able to show a school bus coming in and out both from the east and the west.
Thank you.
Anything further, Member Rahman?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Little Overdeer?
Yes. Are we planning to go over the additional site walk that you had?
Again, at the moment, we created meeting minutes, as we like to do with each of the sidewalks. They're currently under review with Mr. Berger and and the highway superintendent. After that, we'll formally submit them for record. If you would like me to go over my recollection of the meeting, I'm happy to do so, but I'm also happy to do it once there's been a review and we've been able to issue guys meeting minutes that the group has agreed upon.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I was thinking about the one that was reviewing the views from various viewpoints, not so much the road improvement one.
Absolutely. So I had briefly touched on it before. And one of the main items that, we are happy to discuss tonight is the northern parking lot area, which was a specific item brought up at that meeting that you are talking about. And again, as we mentioned, there is provisional standards in the code that the planning board is able to enact. And we do not believe that we are required to have 116 parking spaces as currently is required by the code. And we're happy to reduce that overall number. We would not like to go for a variance, but we will reconfigure the 21 parking spaces to the north, take out our availability to use them for the Country Ann's Conference Center. And potentially we are looking at, the applicants has asked us to look to see if we can squeeze in a couple extra spaces, 1 or 2 in the farm core to increase that a little bit, but we're not going to make up the 21 spaces that are currently at the north. But again, they're willing to get rid of the ability to use that for a Country Inn Conference Center use if the planning board is amenable to granting that waiver.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Overdeer. Member Cedar?
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Member Cedar. Member Villano?
Yeah, just a couple. Regarding the buses, I think the issue is more them stopping on Route 55 on that turn than actually turning into Old Forge Road was some of the concern, especially the way people drive on that road. The other question I have is in regards to your solar panels for the parking. So it's great. They shield the cars. I've seen it at other sites. My question is, how reflective are those panels? And are they going to be angled in any way, or are they primarily, as shown in that picture, pretty flat with just a couple degree pitch to help the water run? Because to me, that would be an impact on looking at the site if they're very reflective. You're going to see a nice big glare when you're looking at that.
So
Go ahead, Jen.
yeah. So the panels are not reflective. They, if they were reflecting light, they wouldn't be absorbing the energy they need to. And they are relatively flat, as you say.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Hey, thank you, Member Valano. Just a quick follow-up. So how many parking spaces are in the farm core? It's just a little hard to count at this scale.
Off the top of my head, I believe there's 86, but don't quote me on that, but that's the ballpark.
So probably about 75 underneath these structures or next to or south where there doesn't appear to be a solar structure, and then another dozen or so to the right, it looks like.
Yep, I think it's like 26, 25, something of the sort. Yeah, so there's about 75 underneath the solars. And again, we're looking to see if we can maybe increase those numbers just by a couple, but at the moment, yes, let's call it 75.
Okay. And just one last thing, can you maximize the topo map?
The topo? Sure.
Yeah, just zoom out a bit. I just want to see the northern half of the property, including where that field where events are being proposed and potentially no longer parking if we.
Actually, Pedro, if you want to, I'll jump back to the master plan.
Yeah, because that goes beyond the extent of our current drawing. Thanks, Kathleen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And we'll now move on to our consultants, and whichever of them would like to go first.
I can start, if that's okay.
Thank you, Planner One.
Okay. Just on the parking requirements, this was summarized back in first couple of memos that I sent out. I'm looking at one from December 31st, where it's kind of spells out the requirement from the code, which is 150, but they're proposing currently 118 spaces based on the employees that they anticipate, the shifts that they anticipate for the employees. So the 118 is what we're, Kathleen, that's currently still the number, but you're looking at reducing it a little bit more to get rid of the northern overflow area that's concerned to the neighbors, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the breakdown of, a similar, if you could provide a similar, rationale to why, how it fits with the lodging requirements of the code, and how this is still going to work for the project? I think that would help the board decide if they want to waive that or not.
Yep, we can outline that in a little more detail. I will tell you though, from an employee standpoint, and you can see we're already requesting some provisional reduction for the total employees. So we're giving you the number for the total employees that we would expect to have in maximum capacity. And then those are happening multiple shifts. So we take a reduction for part of that because they're not going to be parked on site at the same time. So the number we ended up giving you is if every single, occupancy is built out, there's potentially some additional events going on, plus the farm staff is at full capacity and that's all built out, plus a little extra because there might be a little bit of an overlay of shift between them. We're erring on the side of caution. Is that going to happen? Very, very infrequently. And we also have the 100 overflow parking spaces. to the north. So if we would ever get into a situation where maybe we needed a couple 5, 6 extra spaces, they would be able to utilize that just temporarily while the shifts kind of overlap and we go back. So we would probably look to take a reduction for the total employees, and then we'll look to see how the rest of that calculation really balances out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like no one objected to that, so that's something you can explore and break down a little further.
Great.
That would help. Okay, and then on the SECRA front, do you have any update on where things are with DOT, and if you've gotten any feedback from them on, I know you've had some meetings with them outside of our just standard referral that we made, but has the traffic study come up at all? I know there's the Route 55 left turn issue. Have they, given any indication of when they think they're going to have comments on the overall findings of the traffic study, level of service, and et cetera?
So we haven't gotten any additional comments on the first submission that we gave for the general concept plan. Where we had left it at the previous meeting was that Creighton Manning was doing some additional research about the left turn lane. Since the March 19th submission, Creighton Manning did formally put a letter back to the DOT. They've done research and review about the standard criteria for left turn lanes, at this condition for this character of the road. They do not believe that based on that criteria, it warrants the left turn lane. They've done the research, they've outlined it, and they've submitted that back to the DOT. So now we will submit that as part of the next submission for record. It only occurred within the last week, but we are waiting on comment on that item, and that will obviously have a lot of directive on how we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so on the visual issues, I really think, in my comment memo, the latest one kind of reiterates it. Just when we see the landscaping plan, I think that'll also help a lot. I mean, it's right now we're, especially from the Appalachian Trail view, we're showing cabins from there. You have architecturals that you submitted. You are following the board's recommendation for, the earth tone color scheme. But if, once you have the landscaping plan and you're able to incorporate, the proposed screening that you want to do as part of that viewpoint, it would definitely help to illustrate that. Right now we've seen no landscaping improvements yet. I know it's been something that's been in the works for several meetings. So just reminding the board that that's still to come, and that could also help. There could be more discussion on how that can be developed to meet everybody's concerns. Just wanted to point that out. We also looked at the noise study, the latest version. You addressed all of our comments to date from AKRF. We would obviously wait to hear from the public and any other agencies that have received a copy of that as part of the public hearing process. What else do I have in here? So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that DOT hasn't issued the comments yet on the traffic, but if you're waiting for this issue to kind of get worked through, until you know for sure if that left turn lane is going to happen or not, I think it's really important that we hear what they have to say on traffic. Because AKRF's done what we can at this point, given that there's state jurisdiction, especially at the intersection, we want to hear what they have to say. DEC had also given a letter about endangered and threatened species. We reiterated, we reminded them that there's a bog turtle survey. There was some additional studies done. We pointed them to those. I asked them for an update this week if they reviewed that and if they have any comments, and I haven't heard back yet. So I'm trying to see if they're going to provide anything further in writing on that issue. And I guess the last item, you mentioned wanting to try to wrap SECRA up, in hopes for like a public hearing around June. One thing to keep in mind, and it was brought up, it's part of the special permit requirements. There are findings that the board's supposed to make on special permits. There's a code citation where you're supposed to submit a narrative showing how you meet all the special permit requirements. That wasn't asked for yet, even though it's required. There's a lot of things in that that tie into SECRA, and we're not done yet with SECRA. Issues like traffic, visuals, the stuff that the DOH is reviewing, which you got a really long comment letter on, water and sewer. I think it would be premature to have the full special permit narrative per the code provided yet, until we have all those issues worked out with the involved agencies. But just keep in mind that that's something that needs to be submitted in order for this to be eventually moving through the process as a requirement of the submission. I'm sure your attorney is aware of that. It's all in there in the code, so just keep that in mind.
But
And so,
that's not required prior to a public hearing, correct?
I think it's more, it's required for the application to be, decided upon eventually, because the board has to review your narrative against the special permit findings they have to make. So, and like I said, a lot of the stuff is coming out of the environmental review. We're not at a point yet where we know the full conclusions. We're still working through some of that. So, as long as that's on your radar to come in, that's a requirement. Just keep that in mind. Is there anything else on the road issue? I know the attorneys are on possibly to talk to that. Has there been any new updates on that as far as title search and other things that you can update us about?
My understanding is nothing's been completely concluded. They're still having conversations and working through several items.
The only thing I would add to that, this is Neil Alexander, Cuddy Fader, is that our initial conclusions have continued to be supported all the way through, but we haven't received the final sign off yet from the town attorney. But there hasn't been any information to controvert any of our positions provided or produced anywhere through all the searches we've undertaken.
Okay. And lastly, I would just, I saw the comments from the Department of Health. I would obviously defer to Joe on anything there. There was a lot of them. So, but I know that's usually what they do for something this size. So, yeah, I don't have anything else right now.
Thank you, Planner Werner. Let's go to Attorney Polidoro.
Hi, good evening. Erin's list was pretty exhaustive. I don't have anything to add at this point.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Polidoro. And Engineer Berger.
Okay, start with the DOH comment letter. I've reviewed it as well. Even though it's extensive, it's more procedural. It's typical for a project of this size. There's nothing on the review letter that I saw that would for the town to be concerned with. Is just the applicant working through the process with the DOH. So I'm feeling comfortable with that. Going onto the road, we did have a meeting with the applicant and the engineers, and with Highway Superintendent and myself. We are going to be continuing to review their proposal and come up with what the Highway Superintendent wants and agrees to, and with what their recommendations are. And we agree to try to have something back to them within 2 weeks of the meeting, which is about a week and a half from now. And we're on target to do that so that they can come back to the board with responses to whatever Highway Superintendent comments will be. In discussion with the town attorney, he's still reviewing the issue of ownership of the road. I believe he's in discussion with the applicant's attorney and still making a determination at that point. On other site work, I've already commented on that, the SWIP and the erosion control. I have no additional comments on that.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Berger. So hearing our consultants, any members of the board have any other comments or questions at this time? All right, hearing none. Ms. Gallagher, you're going to submit on Friday, April 30th for our meeting that is Monday, May 17th.
Correct.
Okay. And so you do not anticipate us seeing you before then.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a resolution to entertain the request for the release of escrow. I'll read through this and then we'll proceed. Resolution authorizing the release of planning board escrows. Be resolved that the planning board of the town of Dover does hereby authorize that the following planning board escrow be returned to the applicants as set forth below. So then it's applicant, application number, and remaining escrow. O'Neill subdivision, PB 13-111, $678.98. Westchester Modular Homes, PB 14-124, $1,000. Fraser / Chippewa lot line, PB 15-127, $645.22. Weil Road subdivision, PB 15-129, $1,877.66. Dollar General, PB 15-136, $682. 15 Southeast Mountain Road, PB 16-137, $395. Then PB 6-141, $202.72. Cricket Valley Lot Line, PB 16-143, $2,434.94. Letterman Timber Harvest, PB 16-144, $1,009.75. Cricket Valley Subdivision, PB 16-145, $1,030.38. Spray Amended Site Plan, PB 17-147, $1,690.82. Old Drovers Inn Carriage House, PB 17-153, $164.13. Iroquois Gas Transmission, CV, PB 18-155, $1,071.50. Arquette Special Permit, PB 18-158, $36.48. TMR Pavilion, PB 18-160, $292. Ortega Multifamily, PB 19-167, $93.80. CVE Erosion, EC 16-881, $4,800.50. Bechtel Laydown for CVE, EC 17-884, $4,223.78. CVE Arrows Build, EC 17-885, $458. Iroquois Gas Lateral CVE, EC 17-887, $500. Iroquois G Lateral CVE, SIE 18-107, $650. This resolution is being offered by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Milano. Discussion. So these are just escrows that either they got all their approvals or they stopped their project, and it's their money, not the town's, and the planning board needs to give it back to them, as there is no further outstanding bills from our consultants. Attorney Polidoro, does that pretty well sum it up?
Yes, I haven't had a chance to review the list myself, but these are all older projects.
Right, okay. And there's a lot of projects here. Are there any projects in which members may need to recuse themselves for any number of reasons? All right, hearing none. Any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing no further discussion. Resolution authorizing release of planning board escrow. The secretary, please call the roll.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobertier,
Aye.
Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams. All in favor.
All right, vote 6-0 with 1 absence. Resolution is adopted. Okay, we're up to the minutes. I'll need a motion. Excuse me. I'll need a motion to adopt the minutes of the March 15th planning board meeting. Motion made by myself, seconded by
Second.
member Sedor. Discussion on adopting the minutes.
Just one comment.
Yes.
Need to review and clearly change. There's a lot of instances where it says sidewalk instead of site walk. There's six different instances where it happens.
Okay.
And I know what we all mean, but
Right, I think it's just the software, not understanding site walk.
It's the software.
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
I mean, I catch most of them, but
You caught it,
probably
but a few.
I had to
probably
take out a
six.
lot of the yes, no's, no kidding.
Probably a lot more than 6.
I'll
Okay.
fix it.
Thank you. So, thank you, Member Valano. It's a good catch. And thank you to our secretary for catching the other 10, 15, 20 that probably said
Oh, yeah.
sidewalk and we're changed to sidewalk. So any further discussion on the minutes?
No.
All right, so motion to adopt the minutes as amended per Member Valano's suggestion. Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobertier,
Aye.
Member Roman,
I'm not sure if I should vote on this since I left that meeting early. Does that matter?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
Ask Victoria.
Hold on.
Well, I did read the meeting minutes.
Member Sador,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams.
Aye.
All are in favor.
Thank you. The vote of 6-0 with 1 absence. The minutes are adopted as with the one change that will take place. All right. All right. So our next meeting is Monday, April 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We did receive an application. Secretary Van Million, can you help me recollect what that?
Oh, erosion control, Deer Pond for LW
It's on
LLC
Dover
on
Furnace
Duncan Hill Road.
and It's on Dover Furnace Road, right? And
Dover Furnace, I'm sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Dover Furnace Road.
the property north and west, north of Ridge Road and west of Dover Furnace Road, looking to build a pond. I don't know if do we have any other business that we anticipate for the April 19th meeting?
Sorry, Ryan, is that the when you turn in from 22 on the north side of Dover Furnace, those 2 new entrances that went in? Is that property?
No,
No.
you would cross the railroad tracks. You go by
Past
go by-
Palumbo?
you pass Palumbo. It's the property past Palumbo on the right.
Okay.
Before you get to Ridge Road.
Got it. Okay. What's that first one who put 2 new entrances in on Dover Furnace?
That's not something we have before the plan.
Okay.
That's the one that's in violation with Don Anderson right now.
Right.
Oh.
So, we may see them in the future, but we won't be seeing them 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
All right, so we have at least that for the 19th. We'll have a consultants meeting, I would think next week. And when we have the date and time, I'll invite, one or two members to join us. Any further business before the planning board at this time? Okay, well, hearing no further business, I'll make a motion to adjourn, seconded by
Williams.
Seconded by member Williams. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.